Uh, we are now live.
Hurrah!
Hello, Internet.
Hello, internets.
How are you, Internet? Doing good? Doing good?
Doing smooth. All right.
Welcome to the
I guess I'm like
Comics
a jazz
Podcast.
podcast.
Will you survive the experience? Let's get into our topics, yeah?
Yeah.
So we're doing a fan art contest with Valiant Comics. If you love the character Ninjak, and you should, because he's awesome, you should and you like drawing stuff, you've got a little bit of artistic capability, or you don't, you just love the character. We are running a contest, and you can win a bunch of awesome Valiant swag. I'm actually really impressed with how much stuff Valiant was like. Here are your prize. Like I thought it would be a few comics, but they showed up with like a crate of stuff, and they said prizes away.
This is a
Um,
little
They have an
obscene.
obscene amount.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it could all be yours if you draw some sick fan art. Submit.
There's tickets to Special Edition New York. There's, what is it, hardcover, trade paperbacks, 25, what is it,
Oh yeah,
number, Valley number one issues. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
so you don't even really need to be like a super fantastic, incredible fan artist. As long as you put some effort into your submission, if you're one of the first few people to submit, and we've been getting a steady stream of them, so do act quickly. If you're one of the first few people to submit your entry, then you will automatically get a free copy of the Valiant number one, regardless of winning anything, which is pretty rad.
yeah. So that's going on, and it's awesome. People seem we're getting a lot of great submissions too. It's really really impressive stuff. But yeah, and that is our contest. So what else is going on this week? We've got the new Avengers trailer.
Mm.
New
Everybody
Avengers.
join me. Oh
I'm gonna not make that noise, but I will
my
express
god.
will express excitement without making that noise.
I don't think
Um,
you can convey the level of excitement accurately without conveying some kind of noise.
I can just say like I'm excited. That's how I'm gonna do it. That's my choice of words there. Um, a lot of
I'm
great new
disappointed.
footage. The big famous scene of them running through the woods, and then Hawkeye and Black
Yeah.
Widow destroy a Jeep for the sake of moving fast for maybe 30 feet, right? We'll fling ourselves into the air. I mean, they're master spies. I'm sure there's a plan there, but we'll
I
see.
like the big comic booky. It looks like a two-page spread, like jump shot where all the Avengers are just kind of like jumping across screen.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
It's
That's
pretty
yeah.
rad.
It is pretty rad. It seems so impractical. Like such a bad way to get across the
Dude, that
room.
A
doesn't matter.
lot
Like
of the movies are pretty impractical. I mean, most of the
Sure.
stuff is pretty
like
absurd.
that shot is honestly like what you would expect in like a two-page spread instead of comic book.
I
Which I'm
guess.
glad Joss Whedon like snuck that in there.
Oh, Joss, master of these things.
Ooh,
Um,
actually,
are, so in the wake of, or not in the wake, in the up lead up to Age of Ultron, a lot of theaters, particularly AMC, has announced that they're going to do these marathons, all 10 movies, and then Age of Ultron way at the end. It's insane, right? Like it's totally insane.
I can't
what is
do
it, like
it.
a 20? God, with like a 26-hour, 25-hour marathon?
I think it's 28 hours and then the 3 hours or 2.5 hours for the
Eh,
movie.
That's
Jesus Christ.
absolutely insane.
You're talking nearly 35 hours in a theater.
I
Like,
would die.
I kind of
I don't
want
know.
to.
Like the Marvel fanboy in me wants to do that. Like, I just want to like hook up like a catheter or a colostomy bag and just sit there like the whole entire day.
I
Look,
mean,
I love the Marvel universe, but I don't love it that much.
I'm sure they'll let you go to the bathroom. Like you
I
don't
don't
need to
know,
go
man.
crazy
Like,
about it.
I'm also really impatient. I got
You
restless during the Hobbit, so
Well, with the Lord of the Rings, they took these like half-hour to 1 hour intermissions. No, they took like half-hour intermissions between the movies. Um, I think when they did this whole event for the first Avengers film, they did a 20-minute break. Well,
but
the theater near where I was living at the time did the
mhm.
20-minute breaks between the films. I didn't go, but like that they announced that because they're like, we're all gonna die if we go see your movies for 12 hours in the theater. It's like, don't worry, we're gonna have
They'll be
breaks.
weak.
They had like events because they made like a kind of a mini con out of it. They had
Mhm.
events throughout the day. They had prizes. They had free food and popcorn. Breaks between the films. Plus, these are movies you've seen before, right? So like, if you
Right.
don't want to watch Incredible Hulk again, you can just step out. You can go run
Nobody
some
really wants
errands.
to watch Incredible
Yeah.
Hulk again.
I mean, I'm sure Edward Norton does, but
uh,
he's like, I made this movie. It is my masterpiece. Um, it's not totally insane. I'm kind of on the fence about it. I think it would be fun in the same way that like a Comic Con is fun, right? Like a Comic
yeah.
Con is like 3 straight days of just all this one thing condensed, like all of it, just like
Right.
the meat of
I
it.
would say, like, the marathon is fun if it's something you do with a group of people. Like, because, like you said, you've seen a movie, so it's not something you really go to watch them again. You're just going more for, like, the collective geek out session with everybody else there.
Right. Or you
I
can
don't
meet some
know. Like I was
strangers.
invited, and I still don't think I'd be able to go, even with friends. Like it's too much.
You
It's
don't want you don't want to explain to the overlords at work like this is what I need these 3 days off of work. Uh, don't ask me why. I'm gonna
I will say that I bought a ticket for my first ever midnight showing of a movie, and it was for Age of
Ooh.
Ultron. So this will be
have
my
you.
first ever midnight
We
showing.
were gonna segue, but now I have to know why have you never been to a midnight show? They're the best.
It's dude, it's inconvenient. It's at midnight. Like I want to be sleeping at that time. That's sleep is
You're
very
Not
so
when
important
you're
to
old.
me.
no, I think when you're under 22, like it's totally fine. Like you're awake at that time anyway. Um, there's no reason to not do a midnight show. I stopped going. I used to do. My family is big on midnight shows. We go see everything at midnight. It's just been a tradition. But after Iron Man 2, I know the exact movie. After Iron Man 2, we couldn't anymore. We're just like, we can't do this. Um, there's an element there that just ruins it. Like you're with hardcore you're with the hardcore nerds that don't need to be awake the next morning. So like I feel like it's sort of it's hit or miss. Like you can easily get like awesome fans that are really into it, but realistically you're getting people that want to talk to the movie, explain all the comic book connections to their friends around them.
Oh
They
God,
think that
no.
they're funnier than what's going on in the movie. Um, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
I once broke up with a girl because of that.
That's rough, but I get it.
Oh no,
Listen,
like,
don't jinx my movie, okay? Do not put bad mojo on my movie. This is gonna be a very special and sacred experience, and I don't need you to ruin this.
No, no.
Bad vibes.
Molly's gonna sit next to like that stereotypical comic book guy saying like, God, that's not how it went down in issue 314.
Well, so when I saw Iron Man 2, the guy behind us, almost every other scene, he's like, "That's not what it's like in the comics. That's not what this is." And then
Uh,
he
I
had his
hate
own jokes and everything. But get this, my mom in the middle of this movie. We'll move off the stopping in a minute. In the middle of the movie, my mom gets up and is just like, "Shut up!" Like my mom, sweetest little lady. Not she's not old, but sweetest
Did
lady
she
in
go
the
like full
world.
ethnic?
She did what?
Did she go full ethnic?
That sounds awful, but no. She went full upset person who paid $13 to see a movie in IMAX
Yeah.
3D and had a teenager sitting behind her telling terrible jokes all night. I don't know what you'd call that, but that's what she went like that. Um, it was a bad time for those kids. I could almost feel and
Good.
for them that
Uh,
like they knew that they did something wrong and because they're teenagers, they couldn't just be like, "Oh, we're sorry, we did something wrong." They had to be like, "Oh, what do we do here? Like, we just got called out. This has never happened before. My teachers are afraid of me. My bosses are. Oh, what do I do?" Anyway, that was the last minute. Actually, no. Okay, one last story, and then we'll switch. I promise. I promise. I promise. Um, X-Men: Days of Future Past. because I live in New York. I'm usually by myself a lot, and I just decided to randomly go see it. And in New York, there's no midnight shows here. You usually get to go see a movie at like 8 p.m. the next day. Like they just start showing them at like 7 or 8. So I went to a 8 p.m. showing of Days of Future Past the night before it came out, and the little girl next to me was like hyperventilating this whole movie, and me and the guy next to me, who I didn't know, we both were like concerned. So I tapped her. I was like, "Hey, are you okay?" He's like, "Oh no, I'm so excited. Like I love X-Men so much." And I was like, "This is amazing. I'm sitting next to the best audience member because like she was
That's
into
so
it.
cute.
She was like hyperventilating, and the scenes where they go in the future, and then like they do the sort of future cannonball the cannonball, what's it called when he throws
Fastball special.
the fastball special with Colossus, and it looked amazing, all the teleporting stuff.
Mhm.
She started, she got really teary-eyed at scenes. She was like when she sees Cyclops at the end, like she freaked out, and it was so good. She was so great.
That's so
Um,
sweet.
yeah.
See, that's how those midnight viewings should be. Like where you just have the people that appreciate the movie and like
Yeah.
they'll geek out quietly.
Yeah, yeah. Although I will say to offset that, leading up, behind me throughout the previews and credits and before that movie, I just had guys talking about all the things that they would do if they could date Mystique. I was like, I would tell her to
Ew.
morph. And I was like, you guys are gross. Like, you guys are disgusting. I would move, but there's nowhere to move to.
See, I've
But
been
yeah,
cursed with every time I go see a comic book movie, almost every time I've gone to see a comic book movie, I've had a small child sitting behind me. I don't know if it's like bad karma from another life, like maybe I murdered someone and my punishment now is to just have annoying small children behind me at every movie. But
it's
it's
your arch nemesis who happens to have a
it's
time
like
machine. When
it's
you
the
while on
thing
your
is
deathbed, some guy's gonna show up. And he's like, it was
It was
me,
me,
Marlene.
Marlene.
It was me.
but it's like what do you do in that situation? Because you're not gonna turn around and tell a small child to shut up. Like his parent is sitting right next to him.
You just
You
have to
can't do
outcry him.
anything.
You just have to outcry the child.
Alex.
I will admit I have
Oh God.
asked very not so politely for a parent to do something about the situation. I was like, hey,
I have had nothing but like great
Is she
synergy with
okay?
the
Yeah,
audiences that I've been to.
I what I'll usually do is I'll turn around or turn to whoever and just like, is your child okay? Like, can you be quiet?
Like very
Big
passive
Hero 6.
aggressively.
Yeah, Big Hero 6, there was a kid yelling, and I was about to get up. I was with somebody, but I could feel it boiling. I have no problem yelling at kids and their parents. That's what I'm getting at.
I need you to
It's
come
not
with me
beneath
to
me.
every movie from now
Man,
on.
I don't
I
mess
must
around
have had
with
just
the,
like wonderful luck.
I
Like
don't
the
mess
shows
around
I've
with my
been to, it's
theater
like
experience.
I don't know. The audience has always been in sync. Like they cheer at the right time, they clap at the right time, everyone laughs. It's a great
Well,
big
aren't you
like happy
fortunate?
family when I'm watching it.
Mhm.
I'm just saying, like I have never had anything but good
Everything's
experiences.
wonderful for me.
I was really pissed because
Everything is awesome.
X2, for X2, okay, so y'all know Nightcrawler is my favorite character all
Mhm.
time. So
More than Blue
imagine,
Beetle?
yes, Nightcrawler's always been my favorite.
Okay.
So obviously when X2 came out, I was super excited because Alan Cumming
Mhm.
and Nightcrawler and stuff. So the opening was like the most important part for me because it has that whole cool teleporting scene in the White House and everything. And throughout those whole like 5 first minutes, there was a kid in the front who was nonstop squeaking his chair. Like I guess the thing in his chair was just really squeaky. And he was just like squeak, squeak. And I wanted to stand up and murder this kid. Like, of all of the scenes, it had to be those first 5 minutes that were like sacred to me. And this damn kid would not shut up with the chair.
So basically, to wrap this up, the Marvel Marathon is all those experiences times 11.
For 30 hours.
And it's just a matter of, do you really want to like trek through Mordor to get back to the Shire or not, or just like skip it all and call in the Magic Falcons and go see the movie and just the Age of Ultron. So we're gonna move on. Supergirl. Supergirl. What was that sound?
That was you.
That was, I don't know. I heard it too.
It was Enrique. It was Enrique. Confused.
Oh my god. Oh my god, Alex is possessed.
What?
He's Ultron!
What?
You sound like possessed.
He had that raspy, like, Ultron voice.
There's no strings on me. How could you not be excited about this? Supergirl's
Could be
costume.
brighter.
Okay,
It's
it could
fine.
be brighter.
Why does DC hate color?
Hear me out. Hear me out. This is
No,
This is low lighting.
Let me just rant a bit. Like, DC has arguably like the brightest cast of characters you could find in any universe. You know, you have like the Crimson Flash, you have like the bright blue and red Superman. I mean, Green Lantern. I mean, come on, neon green powers for crying out loud. And for whatever reason, they don't like color. Everything they put out has to be. It's like they're apologizing to me. Like they have Supergirl, but they're like, "Hey, it's Supergirl. Sorry, we'll keep it down here."
It looks fine. It's
Yeah,
not that big a deal.
It's fine. Yes, it could just.
I have to
It could
disagree
pop more.
here. I think the colors here are fine. The only issue that this image, it's just dark. Like,
Yeah, I
it's
guess.
poorly lit. It's clearly poorly lit, but
I don't know. The bottom half looks like it got ripped off of Ben Affleck's Daredevil costume.
Look, I'm happy she has pants. All right.
Oh no, so am I. I'm just saying,
Pants.
like they could have gone a little brighter. They didn't have to go like that muted pleather look.
I think
Here's-
it's fine.
I will tell you, here's my only real issue with this whole getup so far. This is my only real problem, and I haven't talked about this yet.
Ultron out again.
Hair is not blonde enough, and I know it's a weird thing because you could dye hair, and because it is dark lighting. But I don't know. I don't. It doesn't seem like Kara to me. It just seems just like there's something really small that's off. Other than that, I think I can't pinpoint exactly what it is, but there's something about it that's just a little off.
Personally, the thing that's off to me is that she doesn't look young enough.
That too. She definitely doesn't look young enough. But
Which, if they're doing like a different version of the character, I don't really understand the concept for this show yet. So I can't say if they're doing like an older version of her or whatever. But in my head and in the comics, I've always pictured her as like the younger, kind of hyper sister
Right.
kind of trope. So she just doesn't look like that in this image.
right.
Well, all right, Alex. I'll let you have your pet peeve of her hair color, and let me have my pet peeve on the costume, on the
Yes.
general color.
I do like that they went with the skirt. I will admit, the skirt grew on me because in current comics she doesn't have a skirt. It's more like it's kind of a bikini-ish sort of thing, but like not sexy. It's just her legs are exposed, but
Right.
she's got like super high boots that kind of compensate for it. So there's still not a lot of skin, but like I don't know. There's also more color on the current costume, like the collar around her wrists is yellow. It's got like a little angle to it too, a bit more
Sure.
shape. The costume is also much more colorful. It feels just a little bit brighter. But other than that, I think this is good. I'm kind of excited for the show more than I was. I love Supergirl. I think it's gonna be great. We'll see.
I haven't looked to see the reactions from people yet, but I'm actually really curious if the reactions are as severe as when they introduced that Wonder Woman costume where she had pants.
I will tell you, as a person who reads a lot of internet comments for no reason other than I hate myself, they're mixed.
Interesting.
They're
Understandable.
mixed. Interesting. They're mixed, and they've changed a lot over time. When the costume was first shown, I think a lot of websites took the stance of, "Oh no, it's something's wrong with it," without quite understanding what they didn't like. I admit I did the same thing. I saw it. My knee-jerk reaction was that there's something off about it, and then over the few days that we've been looking at it, it's kind of grown on me. But the internet kind of did the same thing. They were like, "Oh, there's something wrong with it," and then over a few days, they're like, "You got a lot of it right." Like it's not a solid, wonderful, perfect first impression, but there's enough that they got right that fans of the character are not as concerned, I guess.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
X-Ben just commented, Alex, that you have some static, which I've noticed, so maybe jiggle your mic input a little bit.
Oh, we have people in the chat?
Yeah, I don't see anybody in the chat.
What is this? I want the chat.
It's
I
in
see
the
nothing.
YouTube comments.
Oh.
Oh, comments. Someone's ignoring the chat. No, I don't see that either. Oh, great. Now we're doing this thing where we stop talking about the podcast.
Nope. All right, back to podcast. Let's go. Segue back. Come on, bring it back, guys.
Shanimal says that the Wonder Woman costume was horrible. It had nothing to do with pants and everything to do with looking like a cheap Halloween costume. I can agree with that.
Oh, now the chat's coming.
Okay.
It was pretty bad.
Ben also dislikes the current darker palette. I don't think it's a darker palette. I think it's just poor lighting. Like, if you look at that image, it's just...
I don't know. It looks pretty muted.
dark. I think it just...
I think the
just
colors
really
are
bad
pretty
lighting.
significantly muted.
DC is kind of like stuck on like the low end of the color spectrum. Like they don't like their primary colors very much.
I mean, it's definitely red.
Either that, or they
Oh.
just have like something. I don't know. They have a really fabulous designer that like when they're like, oh hey, the cape needs to be red. It's like no, it needs to be a mauve. And they keep showing like these darker shades. I don't know. I like the costume personally. I like the design. I want it to be brighter.
Yeah, we all do.
I don't know. Like I'm worried that when they finally release like the art for like Cyborg in a Superman movie, they're gonna have him be like a stealth black, and he's not gonna have
I
his
would be upset
trademark
if they
like.
did that.
like they did with RoboCop.
Yeah.
I would be upset if they did that.
Yeah, me too.
Alright, what's the next thing on the
topic.
agenda?
So since we're
Segue.
talking about comics, Lauren Pinapinto, who is a art director for a book company here in New York, for Orbit Books, I believe. She runs a blog called Muddy Colors. And this past week she had a very popular post called What Women Want in Women Characters. And basically she went through a bunch of examples of redesigned artists it did for female characters, including like Princess Peach and Gamora, and I'll bring it up here in a sec. But she put this post together, and it got picked up all over the internet by like IO9, Tor, a few other places, and of course you have a lot of internet bro dudes commenting on it as well. Some of these are pretty great. Polaris's costume, looks pretty good. I get it. A lot of the commentary was mostly on making the costumes a bit more practical rather than male gazy. And for those that aren't familiar, the male gaze is sort of presenting or viewing a woman through the eyes of a man, sort of sexualizing that image. So, like, here's an excellent one. Wanda Maximoff. Her costume is as iconic as it is a little crazy. Like, I don't think I could show that to, like, a child and be like, you should be into this character.
Mm-hmm.
But this is another one of the ones that I kind of had an issue with, because, like, her redesign is a little...
I'm not
Very
crazy about her
hippie,
redesign, to be honest.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to fit, like, her character. Like, I think, if anything, the Age of Ultron... Scarlet Witch is great, because I think it fits.
Yeah.
Like, if she was more practical dress, she would still just be like sort of a goth hippie kind of, sort of.
Not full blown like hippie.
The Storm one, I don't hate it. It's just that I like the current Storm costume, which is like kind of a tactical. She's got tactical gear now. It's sort of like tactical spy stuff, because that's what she does
She's
nowadays.
got her mohawk back.
Yeah.
I have to say that I don't agree with the Emma Frost redesign. I think it's beautiful. I think it's a gorgeous redesign, and the costume design is amazing. And it really fits the kind of Hellfire Club thing.
Here we go.
But I think that Emma purposely wears that. Like, she wears it because it's part of her character and her personality, and she likes showing skin. She's confident and sexy, and she enjoys wearing that kind of clothes. I think there was even a comment in, I forget which which comic it was in, but somebody asked her about it or like commented on what she wore, and she's like, well, you guys wear yellow and like blue spandex, so you're not that much better.
Right. So, when you have these conversations, there are like three names. Move my mouse back up. Three names that kind of always come back up. Three things actually. One is always the boob window. I feel like every gender ever will always argue about the boob window. Emma Frost is always one because like how do her clothes stay on? Like it doesn't make any sense. But and then the other one is Red Sonja and her chainmail bikini. Mm-hmm. And all three of these are always the key talking points because they do have sort of a feminist slant on them nowadays, not always, but now they kind of have a feminist slant where like this is what the characters want to wear and what they want to appear like, but at the same time it's men kind of who write those stories. Except with Red Sonja, it's Gail Simone, who is remember from the feminism panel at Comic-Con. This is the feminism in comics panel with Red Sonja. Red Sonja is basically a wild animal who would be naked if she could, and this is what she wants to wear. This is how she wants to be, and it's a running joke that she is kind of a wild animal that smells bad and is filthy, but it's still like you still can't really make a very strong argument when someone's like, man, it's over-sexualized, even though the character herself doesn't sexualize it. No one in a comic really sexualizes it. It's sort of up to the reader to add that slant to it, but it's hard not to. It's hard to bring that into an argument and not. I'm trying to find the words here. It's basically hard to kind of justify all the time, right? Like but at the same time, it walks that line because the character does want to wear that, and the writers did make it make sense. With the boob window. Oh, go on. Sorry.
I kind of like. I agree with Marlene more where. And I see where you're coming from too. That like there's this kind of like lean to naturally sexualize them, regardless of the justification you can have for it. But I think I'm of the mind that like as long as it fits within the context of their story, I don't mind it. Like Marlene was saying, with the White Queen, that's her personality, that's her outfit, like that's her signature style. Mm-hmm. But with someone like, for example, like Samus. Samus has always been like a power armor wearing badass, and there was really no real reason to kind of put her in that slimming kind of like almost spandex-y Zero suit.
Right.
So like in that kind of a little bit of a segue, I guess. Speaking about video game characters, I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with Blizzard and like Overwatch, the game that they announced.
Yeah.
The new character they announced, I think Zarya, was her name, or Zayra.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Dude, she looks badass, and she's not your traditional. I guess like what you would picture for like I guess in those kind of games where like the women are highly sexualized, very thin, very like, I guess like.
They made her like really muscular, right? Like kind of a she.
Dude, I mean, yeah, but she looks badass. She's got like that stereotypical like space marine kind of build. She's very muscular. She's wearing power armor. Yeah. She's got like that, like the really badass looking like pink mohawk.
Yeah,
and she's an awesome looking character, and again, but it's not like they didn't go out of their way to make her look like that just for arbitrary reasons. It fits with her background. It's like the general
thing
of
that
the
I
character.
like is that the character was created in response to criticism. So Blizzard actually listened to its fans and realized that there was kind of something missing from the diversity of its game's characters, and so they created this tank. And I think that's really cool. Let's do that in WoW, Blizzard. Give me a nice bulky chick, because the bulkiest chick that you can play in WoW is like, other than like the actual like animal like Worgen or Tauren.
Tauren. It's probably the dwarves
ones. It's probably the dwarves. I think they tried to make, with the new update, I think they tried to make the orcs kind of more like that, but they're still really kind of stereotypically slender. They're more muscular, but they're still like really slender.
Right.
But I think it's really cool that companies are now really starting to listen to their fans and kind of make these adjustments in a way that they're still, the thing is that a lot of people have this fear that when companies listen that they're going to take something away or like make the game worse. But they're just like adding to kind of like the diversity of the game and like listening and adding stuff, not taking things away from fans, which is really cool.
Right.
But going back to like the costumes, just from like a chick's perspective, I don't mind sexy chick costumes at all. I think they're awesome in some cases, and I think characters like Emma Frost and like Storm, who showed up like naked in some panels, but they were like tasteful nudes. There have been non-tasteful nudes also, let's be real.
Right.
But there have been panels where she's like totally nude, and it's okay because she has like claustrophobia and she doesn't like being confined by clothes sometimes. She just likes being naked in the rain, and it's like, hey, you're a freaking weather witch. Like, go for
Storm
it.
is like claustrophobic. She's crazy claustrophobic.
Yeah.
She is.
So it fits her character that she does not like being constrained by clothes sometimes. And similarly, Emma likes wearing revealing and sexy clothes because that's just her style, and she enjoys it. I don't know. She's confident enough to pull it off. So there's characters where it fits. Similarly, kind of with Spirit's Red Sonja. But like Enrique was saying, when it's really obvious that they're just like shoehorning these characters into these costumes because they know that it'll be sexy enough to sell a book, that's when it gets really stupid. And that's when people, I feel, have the right to you can have the right to complain anytime you want, but I can really understand and empathize when people kind of point out those inconsistencies and ridiculous costumes when they really just
Like
it's just
Starfire.
about sex sells in the industry.
Like
Starfire is similar to Storm in that she's
The
I
argument that I've always
Starfire's
heard,
tricky.
the argument I've always heard for Starfire is that she needs exposure because she's powered by the sun. But Superman is also powered by the sun and wears full everything, right? Like he basically exposes
The argument
his
I heard is that
neckline.
she's an alien because she has a different concept of like what's appropriate. She's not bound by the same social stigmas and norms as humans are, which is kind of an okay argument, but it really depends on how they actually flesh it out in a book.
Yeah, I mean, I would also argue with that is that she grew up on Earth. Like, she's been here since she was a teenager, right? She hasn't picked up by now that you can't walk around just naked. I mean, that's what you're saying. I think I actually read this in one of the comments of Lauren's article that's been going around, or Lauren's blog post, is that what would Nicki Minaj look like? And Nicki Minaj is a real person who exists in the real world, makes real decisions for her real self every day, and those decisions are usually to present, she chooses to present herself in this very sexualized way. It's part of her whole character, this whole thing she's doing. It's part of her message, it's part of her art, it's part of Nicki Minaj, right? So, like, imagine if Nicki Minaj suddenly got superpowers, what would she
That'd be
look
awesome,
like?
first
Yeah,
of all.
it would be cool. I would read that comic. I would read the Nicki Minaj adventures. But the thing is, Nicki Minaj is not that unique. There's plenty of women all over the world who are very real people who have the same attitudes, who would prefer to be presented like that. So,
But again, I think that's still a lot of context because you're looking at, like, you're talking about a person that has a choice in how she wants to present herself versus a character that's being
Exactly.
designed by a group of people.
yeah. But I mean, all I'm saying is that you could make it. I mean, I'm sort of agreeing with Marlene's argument is that, like with Emma Frost, it is part of her character, and we have real world examples of actual real women with actual agency that are kind of in the same mindset of this is how I want to present myself. This is how I want to be. But again, you do cross that line of it's written by a man, so like it becomes a whole.
Although what I take away from this is that I really want to read a Nicki Minaj superhero book now.
I think at the end of the day, as long as creators understand that there should be a spectrum, like that there should be a diversity in how women are presented because they should reflect, at least to some degree, the diversity that women in real life choose, the ways that they choose to present themselves,
Right.
then I'm okay with it. Like,
Yeah.
as long as they respect the character and understand that there's a diversity in how women present themselves, and they don't always want boob windows and spandex costumes, although they might, then that's
Right.
totally fine with me.
I forgot all the explanations that Power Girl has been given for her
Oh
movement.
God, who was the original artist for her?
Dude, that's like
I
the
remember reading
60s.
like I don't know if it was like a rumor or a theory that like I guess he kind of did it not necessarily in protest, but he just wanted to see how far he could push it. So he kept drawing her, I guess, boobs bigger and bigger, like every time he would draw them until they finally said like, "Hey, you're doing something funny, knock it off."
Actually, this came up in a conversation with Lauren in a comment thread on her Facebook. Um,
Uh,
when Power Girl was originally created, she had the boob window, and
right.
then very shortly after it, like a couple years into her existence, whoever was drawing her after drew her without it. And it was gone for several years, and then it came back, and then it was gone. Like it's sort of been a thing that like an artist, I feel like for the longest time, every other artist has been like, hey, this doesn't need to be here. Let's get rid of it. And then they do, and then the artist after that's like, I'll bring it back because I'm the hero of comic books. Um, it's just like, okay, it's the thing with its own legacy and its own history and everything. It's pretty crazy. Um, I'm all for Power. I love Power Girl just as much as I love Supergirl, which is, I know they're clones, but I love that Supergirl or Power Girl. I did it. This Power Girl is very much her own character who strives to be. She wants to be her own person. Like she bounced over from whatever world she was in. She met Supergirl. She met Superman. And was like, you guys are cool. I'm into what you're doing, but I'm Power Girl. Like I'm gonna be me. And like Kanye West out of there. It's just like, I'm gonna do me. I am a god. But like
Yeah. Okay, now I need a superhero team up book with Nicki Minaj and Kanye West.
Kanye, he's got a game coming out. Anyway, we can't sidetrack into how great Kanye is.
He
But
made Graduation.
as much as Power, I love the character of Power Girl. I would love if she was a bit more presentable to younger people, and I would love to see a really good redesign. And I think the problem with most redesigns of her so far is they've tried to give her a logo. And Power Girl's costume, I think the key thing, more than the boob window and anything else, is that it has no logo, which I've read her say multiple times that like the not having logo is like a part of her decision. She's like, I'm not part of the Superman family. I'm not part of I'm not part of these things. I'm just me. My symbol is I guess my haircut and my big old muscles, right? Like she's Power Girl. She's not part of anything. She's her own person, and there's no logo on her. Um, and I think that's
X-Ben,
huh?
question for you, Alex. X-Ben wants to know if you think that Power Girl will be in the Supergirl series.
I think it'll come up.
Ooh,
I think
that'd
it'll
be
have
fun.
to come. It'll have to come up. This girl has a clone out there somewhere. Supergirl doesn't have a lot of stories to herself. Her whole story is kind of around finding her home and finding her own place. And I think eventually it's going to have to come up that Star Labs cloned her and she exists in another universe. Actually, she's got multiple origins. Supergirl is Earth 3. I'm sorry, Power Girl is Earth 3 Supergirl, but then in some stories she's a clone.
Right, from Star
Some,
Labs or
yeah,
Cadmus or
yeah,
I mean, if they're
Cadmus.
gonna tie it in with the other shows in any capacity, I imagine they're probably gonna go with the Star Wars
It's
clone
it's on CBS. I doubt it's tying in with anything,
Oh, okay.
which bums me out because we won't have Flash
Supergirl
and
Flash
Supergirl.
crossover.
I want to see that foot race of who's the fastest, and then Arrow's
Flash
just
clearly.
like,
Well, didn't they just or come out officially say that Flash would beat any of the super people, speed wise? Because if you take
Still
that
fun
away
to
from him,
see.
he's nothing.
it's still really fun to see. I love when the cartoons do those episodes of the
Right.
foot race. Yeah, but we've
Yeah.
gone.
A
We should
little
start
over.
to wrap this up a little bit because it is 8:45 ish. It is International Women's Day. Did you guys know this?
I did.
So
Yeah.
holla to the ladies. And I want to close by asking who is your favorite female superhero in all of
Ooh.
comics and why?
Ooh.
Oh man.
Ooh. That's a good one.
Huh.
I'll kick it off. What do you guys think? Mine is, and this is
I'm
no
t-
surprise to anybody, Carol Danvers.
Yep, Carol Danvers.
Which means you guys can't say Carol Danvers, by the way.
Yeah.
Here's why. I love that Carol Danvers was awesome and amazing before she got superpowers. Um, she was already in the world, kicking ass and taking names, and then one day she got powers and just like stepped it up. I like that. I also like her publication history, as weird as it sounds. I like that every creator that's handled her has had a lot of trouble figuring out what her role is and what where she belongs in the huge picture of things. I think
Mhm.
that's really relatable to myself and a lot of people of just you're awesome but you don't know kind of where you're supposed to be. And I think that's been her publication history is that they couldn't figure her out for a long time. Now Kelly Sue DeConnick's got her and she's blown up and everything's great. Like she finally got to where she's recognizable, she's marketable, she's colorful. Um, Also, she's just been through a lot. She battled alcoholism, sexual assault from an alien, which is kind of rough.
I remember that. Yeah.
Living with the X-Men for a while. Like she's just great. I feel like she's just such a great character. She embodies a lot of what I like to see in my superheroes, which is just stories that I can relate to, some sort of redemption, even though they didn't, things have been kind of rough, and just being awesome all the way. Again, it really starts at her being awesome before she even got powers. And
Okay.
that's me.
Okay.
Do you know yours, Enrique?
Yeah. I would have to say probably Sue Storm.
Nice. Okay.
Well, I like her because I feel like with a lot of female characters, I don't want to say that it feels ham-fisted, but I like it. It almost feels like a lot of authors are trying really hard to make them be like, like the next female icon kind of thing.
hmm
And with Sue Storm, she's part of like the Fantastic Family, and she's always been like a female hero that has just kind of stood her own. I mean, she can go toe to toe with Doctor Doom. She's got an awesome power set. She's creative with a power set. She could be like downright ruthless when she needs to be. She's just a really like badass overall hero, and I don't know, like you never catch her like feeling helpless or playing the damsel in distress part. She's literally she's just there as a hero.
The other go on.
No, go ahead.
The other amazing thing about Sue Storm is that she's able to like throughout history, her publication history, she's always been a really great icon, especially in modern times. She's able to be a superhero and a mom
Mhm.
and like a leader of these different groups. Like she's able to do a lot of stuff without falling apart.
She's
Like,
also
never-
incredibly intelligent.
She's
She is.
incredibly intelligent. Yeah, she's very.
Well, and that's what I was saying. Like, you can even tell by like her power set, like the way she uses it. It's just very creative, and she's not limited to just like, oh, I can turn invisible.
Mhm.
That's what it is.
Well, I mean, not only she's brilliant as a scientist, but she's also she thinks on her feet with her powers. She's
Yeah.
like, this is what I can do. How can I deal with what's going on, right? Like she's able to adapt to several situations. I think she's a great super. I think I think she's a great like mom archetype,
Yeah.
right?
I agree.
She's
And actually, I'd also give an
what if your
honorable
mom
mention
suddenly-
to.
Hmm?
Huh?
It's
I was
what
saying,
if
I
your
wanna
mom
give an
suddenly got
honorable-
superpowers?
Honorable mention. CB Supermom. No, but honorable mention to Kamala, the current Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
Because
Sure.
I know I just like her because like
We should have waited till Marlene chose hers because she might have chosen Kamala Khan.
she wouldn't have.
I was going to pick Kamala. The thought crossed my mind, but I decided instead to pick Big Barda. So
Ooh. That's
Huh.
a good one.
I think she's probably my favorite. I'm a really big fan of Justice League International. Like, that's probably one of my favorite titles.
Okay.
And I just like that she was like the tank in the group, like, or one of the tanks in the group. Like, she could just destroy everything. And I hate to say that I appreciate her in terms of a relationship with like a guy, because that seems stupid. But her relationship with Mr. Miracle is kind of hilarious and adorable because it totally throws like the damsel in distress thing on its head, because she is like this huge hulking woman that's like 2 feet taller than her husband, and he's like this small like mousy guy whose powers are like completely not like strength based at all. And she saves him like most of the time because he gets in trouble. So I just find their relationship really charming, and I think it's really cool that she's simultaneously one of the most powerful women in DC Comics, and also like one of the sexiest, like, cause she's super cool looking. So
Big Barda, man.
She's really badass.
She's pretty badass.
I
find
loved
it interesting
any
that nobody
episode.
picked. I find it interesting that nobody picked Wonder Woman, but it's fine. It's fine.
I don't know. I think it's just Wonder Woman's just. I thought about her, but I don't know. Like, I'm not a fan of her current run in New 52, I guess.
That's fair. You're doing a lot. Well, there you have it. We talked about a lot of great stuff. It's International Women's Day. Do great things in the world. And that's everything. Good night, Internet peoples. Thank you for watching.
You should have them say what their favorite woman superhero is.
Oh, yeah. Who's your
villain?
favorite superhero? Leave it in the comments. Click like, subscribe. YouTube lingo.
That's shebang. Follow everybody on the Twitters.
All right. It's time to end this. Hitting the apocalypse button.